Archers suck in Fire Emblem. Or at least that's what I've been told. I honestly don't know why they're considered bad. They've always worked out really well for me. Though, I also realize I'm someone who doesn't care about the quote-unquote meta. I intentionally play games suboptimally because that's more fun than playing well. Going back to archers though, Setsuna is one who's considered trash. I can sort of understand this perspective when playing Birthright, considering she shows up as a level 3 archer with meh stats. Not to mention she has what can be considered bad growths outside of her speed and resistance. But she's still an immediately usable archer, which has some use. She is, however, a much more immediately usable unit in Revelation. This is thanks in part to her joining as a level 11 archer on Chapter 16. I won't go into depth on it, but it's really easy to give her levels in her Revelation recruitment chapter. As such, she can catch up rather quickly and makes an amazing unit. Or at least she does if you play like me. But she's a bad unit if I listen to what the community tells me. And it's in part because of this that my chat and I were enamored with the idea of Setsuna Emblem. This is a mod I created that turns everyone into Setsuna. Their portrait, name, and growths are all Setsunas. Now, as I create my Corrin, I should probably state that they're the only person unaffected by this mod. I did so because the game gets really angry when you mess with them. As such, I decided to make Corrin into a magic build with the Knight as their secondary class. This was a decision that confused chat, because first of all, I am known to dislike using magic in Fates. And secondly, apparently the Knight class line and their skills suck or something. However, I chose this setup so that Corrin could act as a Dragonstone tank, as I had no hopes of Setsuna ever being able to tank physical damage with her 15% defense growth. The Knight class line was chosen to give defensive skills to Corrin as need be, including Wary Fighter, as Dragonstones already can't double, so the skill would only be beneficial. With our Corrin created, now dubbed Lord Fake Noka, we begin our journey. Of course, the first few chapters are played as usual. It's hard to make things different when the first 5 chapters are essentially made for turning Corrin into your Yagin. However, it was during this time that I started to put together a devious plan. One where I make a backpack unit for Fake Noka to steal attack skills from due to Norian trust, which meant planning out a child unit. Another decision of mine that surprised chat because I usually avoid child units. While the start of the game is just like normal, we do start to see the effects of Setsuna Emblem once Setsuna gets her first few level ups. See, Felicia's best growths are HP, speed, and luck, and she'll usually have some magic and resistance levels scattered in there. In Setsuna Emblem, levels tend to skew towards speed and resistance growths. Her other stats aren't too low, what with them usually being 30% growth rates and 20% for strength. However, defense and magic are our outliers. We have a chance to gain defense with it being a 15% growth, but it's not a great chance. And magic is a 0% growth rate, so we won't see magic growths unless a class provides such a growth or we're looking at Fake Noka. As for the story, we watch our mom suffer the Fire Emblem curse before choosing to abandon both our families. Chapter 6 is no issue for us thanks to Fake Noka's decent magic, making it easy to dispose of the bosses. Moving on to Chapter 7, we quickly learn that Fake Noka is haunted by ghosts, leading us to believe this is the reality Hinoka dreamed of, where she would go off and save Corrin. But everyone is her girlfriend. And also she's pre-transition. As for the map, it plays out like it would casually, with Fake Noka acting as a Dragonstone tank. As we're so early in the game, we don't really have to worry about Setsuna growths yet, especially when Songstress Setsuna's stats don't really matter, and Maid Setsuna is being used for the additional magic she'll give Fake Noka for better Dragonstone gaming. We do also get chat's beloved Gunt Suna, and she does have better growths than normal Gunter, but seeing those growths involves me using her. However, while we won't be using Setsuna much, we do take advantage of her help to go pick up Villager Setsuna. As a character with aptitude, she'll be one of our only characters with different growth rates, turning her into Setsuna, but slightly better. Of course, this requires us putting in the effort to level her up. Thankfully, with the help of Setsuna, the paralogue was perfect for giving Maid Suna and Villager Suna some decent experience. Just like with Paralogue 1, Chapter 8 was used to gain some experience on Villager Suna. Thanks to Fake Noka's good magic stat, I could deal just enough damage to Ninja for Setsuna to then easily finish off. Not to mention she could take advantage of healing tiles with support from Fake Noka to gain free experience from the enemy archers. Now, since I'm playing a weird version of Fates, I decided not to intentionally remove of any of my units, which means units will live unless I mess up. This is mainly because, while everyone has the same growths, they still keep their unique stat modifiers, base stats, and class sets. By keeping units alive, I can switch between them if I feel anyone's been screwed over by their level ups or the like. As we move on to the Wind Tribe chapter, we can see that my current pattern of play will stay a constant. Fake Noka has the job of tanking attacks and luring enemies to my army, and from there I can use my various Setsuna to finish off the enemies. And that kind of matches how you're supposed to use Setsuna in normal play. You don't let her get attacked, you use her to finish off weakened enemies or do chip damage. Or, because she's an archer, to remove flyers. Each enemy here only takes 1 or 2 combats for Fake Noka to kill, but with Setsuna, it takes coordination from all of them to take 1 enemy down from full. It is in part due to the fact that these early units start off with pretty meh stats, but Setsuna's growths aren't really going to help them. The great thing about everyone's low strength, though, is that it's easy for them to grind weapon experience off of characters like Fuga, and the lack of strength can eventually be made up for with things like silver and forged weapons. Moving on to the Ice chapter, there's nothing important that really happens here. It's a perfect map for level grinding as you control when enemies appear. Perfect for getting my favorite Setsuna a little bit further ahead in levels. Once we finish the map, we get Fujin Yumi's Setsuna. Now, she will have a low speed cap, but she's useful as she comes with decent strength and the Fujin Yumi. As such, instead of having to rely almost entirely upon Fake Noka, I can use my archers to deal pretty good damage. Of course, Fake Noka continues to be one of my only damage tanks, but I'm able to more easily remove enemies that get stuck on my blockades from now on. With the enemies cleared, I then took a moment to get Shrine Maiden Suna up to level 20 before promoting her to a priestess. This is done in hopes that she'll be of some help assisting with a bow, not to mention the extra survivability that Renewal will provide. Fake Noka also reaches level 20 upon defeating the boss, allowing me to promote to a Nor Noble. This makes the boat chapter just a little bit easier as we now have more ranged access, as if we didn't have enough already. Thanks to my numerous ranged units, the start of the boat chapter wasn't too bad, and thanks to Setsuna's pretty decent resistance growths, dealing with the sorcerers at the end of the map was a bit easier than usual. And our reward for completing this chapter is the Furry chapter. Even with Setsuna's growths, Keaton could be an amazing unit thanks to his bases and overpowered class, which is why Furry Suna died immediately. It was an accident. I am so sorry. Despite the loss of such a good unit, the map was easily doable. Even the princes went down with no issue. Of course, it was Fake Noka taking down one half of the map, while everyone else was working together to take out the other side, but, you know. Port Dia, on the other hand, was a bit more difficult. Due to the lack of strength growths my army has gotten, the various armored units and paladins proved to be difficult for them to kill. The paladins could still be killed by multiple Setsuna working together, and knights could also be killed with some coordination, but the generals had to be taken down by Fake Noka. And by completing this map, we gain access to the best unit in Revelation, that being Silas. His base stats are ridiculous. Just showing up at level 18 with amazing HP, strength, defense, and resistance makes him hard to pass up on. not to mention that having Setsuna growths will give him more speed and resistance to work with in the future. The power of Setsuna was made abundantly clear when entering the Sevenfold Sanctuary. This led to Fake Noka soloing one half of the map, while Setsuna took care of the other side, though our Cavalier got some assistance from the rest of the army as they're not quite as powerful as Fake Noka. Upon entering the first of the Bottomless Canyon maps, we meet the one true Setsuna. Seeing as this is Setsuna Emblem, she was obviously planned to be my wife. And honestly, she's not too bad compared to my other Setsuna. Her 12th strength isn't too far behind a lot of my units, whose strength has ranged from anywhere between 13 and 20. And mind you, my units are promoted. Setsuna is a level 11 unpromoted unit. We also gain the massive boon of Rijinto Suna. Carrying a divine weapon is an easy way to make up for bad stats, but Ryoma also always starts with ridiculous stats. So of course this Setsuna is very powerful, but also Setsuna carries us. As we enter the next map, I choose to reclass Fake Noka to a general. As I want to try and pick up the general skills, I send Fake Noka off to take on the left side of the map solo. Meanwhile, everyone else is sent off to handle the right side of the map. I do this to make sure I can keep all the recruited units this chapter alive. Once the initial wave of enemies is handled, this map is super easy to finish. After mourning the death of a ghost, we enter our first proper Vala map. As with the previous chapter, it was easy to send Fake Noka off to solo one side of the map while the rest of my army handles the other side. To be fair though, my main army did most of the map, even meeting up on Fake Noka's side of the map. And as is our new trend, Big Brother Suna destroyed the boss. This is then followed by the most non-map in the game before picking up my daughter. We then made her into a sniper because I clearly don't have enough snipers on my team. We then surprisingly pick up another child, this one being Sophie. As I said before, I was thinking about actually making a backpack unit at the start of the run, and Sophie was decided to be the perfect child for this as she inherited Astra and Rend Heaven from her parents, after which she could learn Luna and Soul from the Great Knight and Hero classes. Having all these attacking skills is important because my plan was for Fake Noka to have a bunch of defensive skills plus Norian Trust. I wasn't sure if this would be a good idea, but I was curious what would happen in this situation. The idea mostly came from my end-of-year randomizer run, where I had Flora stealing Corrin in much the same way, though she was also more broken because she had Bold Stance. With my current build, though, we still have some setup to do, both for getting the rest of Sophie's skills and getting Norian Trust on Fake Noka. We then finally move on to deal with the Teleporting Bridges map. It's honestly a bit of a breeze with all the bow users I have. The Flyers and Ninja here stand no chance. We did, however, lose Oboro Suna, but she kinda sucked this playthrough, so it wasn't really too much of a loss. Plus, she's already outlived her purpose now that we've obtained Sophie. Once the boss is easily deleted thanks to the power of bows, we then have an attempted assassination. Not of me, but Anthony. Bro really thought he stood a chance against me. We then follow this up with the Arson chapter. I chose to have Fake Noka take the upper path towards Arete to clear the way for the Seize Point. Meanwhile, the rest of my army handled the entire central area of the map so Kaze Suna could unlock all the chests. Once the delicious treasure was collected, Fake Noka was easily able to seize the fortress. As for the Moving Blocks chapter that followed, it was pretty easy and basically played out like normal. However, towards the end of the map, Fake Noka finally obtained Norian Trust, meaning we've obtained our final form, and my goodness, was this a beautiful decision. Nothing can stop Fake Noka now. After using this power to destroy Arete, she then partakes in a shared delusion with Fake Noka. Girlies, you need to let go. The incident happened years ago. This is then followed by sacrificing Setsuna in the Metal Gear Emblem chapter. Why fight my way through this map when I can simply sneak my way through and kill off a lock touch user I haven't been using? I mean, who doesn't want a free Master Seal? As for the Sumeragi map, we can really see how stupid Fake Noka is. Even when not reliant upon Norian trust strats, they're easily capable of handling most enemies. Even magical enemies, well, classed as a general. Like, I haven't been feeding any stat boosters outside of boots. This is all natural beef right here. I know that Fake Noka being beefy kind of takes away from a bit of the challenge, but I will say the other units are pulling their weight here. Not to mention, they're pulling their weight despite most of them being pretty underleveled. I haven't actually been doing any real level grinding like I would in other challenges, so there are units who are like level 5 that provide decent assistance. Anyways, General Fake Noka is easily capable of doubling and thus killing Sumeragi, because, you know, why not? This is then followed by the Among Us chapter, but this time with a twist. There is no imposter. As for the Anankos maps, well, they were kind of easy, mostly because Fake Noka is extremely broken. I guess that kind of power is what you get when you're on the hunt for HRT. And with such power, Fake Noka is easily capable of destroying all forms of Anankos. So, can you beat Fire Emblem Fates when everyone is Setsuna? Well, sort of. I will admit that Fake Noka existing outside of the Setsuna growths kind of breaks the run. However, even with the usage of Fake Noka, I do think the game should be possible with everyone having Setsuna growths. I say this as the start of the game was kind of difficult, with a lot of my units being very hard to use, and I imagine that would be slightly more difficult if Corrin were to have Setsuna growths, though even then, I think they'd still just be able to tank with a Dragonstone and hopefully survive, while other units slowly chip away at the enemy. As for later in the game, once you obtain units like Silas and Ryoma, the game is basically won. Because they have such good starting stats, it's hard for the Setsuna growths to really hold them back. Like, they were doing amazing work in the late game, and were honestly on pretty even footing with Fake Noka. Heck, while going through the final map, I threw in a bunch of garbage characters because chat requested it, and all those characters survived because my other major units were really good, even with their Setsuna growths. Even the real Setsuna was among one of my best units this run. Still though, even as I admit that not changing the Corrin growths kind of takes away from all the Setsuna, I know there'll be at least one person who says my run is entirely invalid, which I get. So maybe I'll redo this run in the future with an updated version of the mod so that even Corrin has Setsuna growths. But for now, I'm pleased with this run. It was a ton of fun, and maybe some of y'all will recognize that Setsuna isn't as bad as she seems. Again, the real Setsuna was in my endgame party, and she was destroying the enemy. And if you're interested in trying this mod out, I've put a link in the description to the mod page. Anyways, I'll see y'all around next time.